Hey everyone, Erica back from In the Company of Cards. Welcome back. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. I wanted to come on. I wasn't planning on coming on today, but I did decide in the end that I would um, to look at a couple of things or to make a comment and to look at something. The first comment that I want to make has to do with people who have written to tell me that Gabbard and Kennedy have been confirmed. They have not been confirmed. Slow your roll, people. What they have both been is what's called passed through committee. So there's a committee that is made up of some senators, yes, and those were the ones that they sat before, and both of them were passed through committee. What does that mean? It does not mean that they are confirmed to their positions. It means that they will go then before the full Senate. The full Senate will be what votes on them. If the full Senate votes them in, then yes, they will have been confirmed. That has not happened as yet. I suspect it will probably happen, I don't know, I'm going to say like Friday, that that vote will happen, and it's the entire Senate that votes. Now, I will say a couple of things. One is that I see that Susan Collins, and she is one of those two women senators, the other being Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, but Susan Collins of Maine is one of those two senators who um, you can't count on them, but sometimes they Republicans who do land on the right side. We know that Susan Collins voted yes to Kennedy. She comes off always very sort of disingenuous when things go wrong, and she'll say, I feel so betrayed. I didn't know that this is what they were going to do. That's what she says about Kavanaugh. I didn't realize. Well, you could maybe get away with that once, but over and over and over again, she looks like she's as um, easy to co-opt as her male counterparts, her male Republican counterparts, or not counterparts, but her male her male Republican colleagues. So that's problematic. Uh, I will say too, on the subject of energy, and some of you will suspect that this sounds like I'm uh, obfuscating or splitting hairs or being avoidant, but that's your prerogative. Um, on the subject of energy, energy is, as I always say, mutable, mutable, so that something can look like it's trending a certain way, but there are lots of things that factor into a decision as to whether or not something goes one way or the other. And one of those things is free will. Susan Collins had expressed real reservations about Kennedy. Somebody or something got to her, because I don't know what happened to her real reservations, but she managed to get over them. I personally am still going to hold out hope for the full Senate um, to vote Kennedy down and to vote Gabbard down. Now, I'm going to say this too. As I always say, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just showing you what the energy looks like to me in the moment. Let's say that they both get through. Well, what does that mean? It means we are in as deep trouble as we all pretty much, I hope, understand that we are. There is a coup going on. I'm going to look at Musk in a minute. Um, and there are a lot of people who are operating out of two things, I think: fear and self-interest. That's it. And so, if you'd like, I can pull again on, well, no, I'm not going to pull again. I'm just going to say energy is mutable. I would like to have thought that Susan Collins would have stuck to her original statement, which is that she had reservations about Kennedy. But again, free will, and maybe she was, who knows what was dangled in front of her, entertainment purposes only, to make her go with a vote for him. Who knows what's going to encourage senators come the end of the week to vote for either of these candidates? I don't know. Um, but I'm not going to pull on this again. I think that my hope is that they will not go all the way through. So we'll see. As for Musk, I'm sure you all are aware of this soft coup that's happening. I only call it soft because it's not violent yet, but there is a coup, um, one man coup. Well, I guess Musk and his six young men helpers who are taking over the government. Uh, he wasn't elected, but he's being allowed to do this. I know that one of the things that people have talked about is the fact that, where's the democratic response? If you go to AOC's Instagram page, she has a very long and very comprehensive statement, I'm going to say, about what's going on, and it's definitely worth going there. So that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's AOC, her Instagram page. It's worth a listen. Um, but one of the things that she says that's just sort of practical is that 47 rolled this all out with Musk when the Congress was in recess, which means not in session. And so now they are back in session. They've all traveled back today. And that's why you've seen a stronger Democratic response or a more unified Democratic response. My my thinking is they need to do better than they've done, even than they've done today. But you're gonna see more of a response moving forward, I think, for them, from them. But I wanted to look at Musk and just see, will this takeover continue? Now, remember too, I am not um, an astrologer, but Pluto is in Aquarius. Pluto is in Aquarius. Pluto is the great destroyer. So Musk's aim is to destroy government, to destroy the mechanics of government. Um, and he's doing a good job of it. I hear next up is the Department of Education. A lot of things will be laying waste to. What Musk says is, well, yeah, I think everything needs to be dismantled. And if come to find out we dismantle something that we shouldn't have, well, we can just plug it right back in. He's really naive about how government works. He's good at destroying things, but he doesn't understand how you put things back together. I don't even think I think he's just saying we'll put things back together. He doesn't know how to do that. So, is this part of what needs to happen for people to wake up? If these things are all dismantled, there's going to be a lot of pain. Is that what it's going to take for people to wake up? Nobody wants that. Well, I mean, I don't. I don't want people to suffer. For children to go hungry, for education to be dismantled, for people's Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid to be, you know, um, thrown around like footballs. Um, but I just want to see, I mean, it looks as though 47 has just given Musk carte blanche. That's what it looks like. So let's look at Musk one more time. We will look at him again, I'm sure. But in terms of this latest effort of his, there are lots of lawsuits around what he's been doing. We know that lawyers have sued him. I mean, the FBI has sued him. Lawyers have sued on behalf of these FBI agents who were active in the January 6th prosecutions, right? And he wants to fire them all. And so lawyers are taking that to court. I mean, there are responses against him, but you know, who wins is the question. So I just want to look around at the cards around Musk and see whether there's any kind of change in his momentum. So we're going to use again that younger man. I know he's not young; he's in his 50s, but he has that sort of that energy of being. Whoops, upside down. Of being still upside down. Being sort of sloppy, foolhardy, arrogant, um, entitled, all of those things that sometimes young men can be in their youth. Um, so we're looking for, okay, so here's Musk. So we have this young woman, we have the house, we have Musk, we have the key, we have the moon. You know, I'll tell you, I'm going to draw some clarifiers, but I will say this feels very much like the rest of government being way too passive. Um, this is the card for identity, way too yin and way too passive. This guy's not elected, and yet we're watching single-handedly as one guy dismantles government. Um, we have the second card is the house, and I can mirror it with the key. He's got the keys to the kingdom. He's been given the keys to the kingdom. But when we look to see, well, what's coming in, the line of five is not telling me that much. So I'm going to pull some cards on everything, I think. Okay. Maybe I'll pull my 3 card postscript as well. Okay. So the clarifiers on this young woman card, remember what I said. This is everybody being sort of shell-shocked and passive and, you know, arms sort of tied behind their backs while he just runs amok. Clarifiers for this are the coffin, the tower, and crossroads. This tends to be a past line, the line that's mostly to my left. Okay, so I talked about that card. Um, you know, in some ways, this could be the death of government as we know it. The death of government as we know it, and with then a need to go in a different direction. You know, the people on the court, the conservative majority on the court call themselves originalists. And there's a problem with being an originalist in terms of how you do government. Because the founders had some great ideas. There's no question about that. They could never have foreseen a Musk. And therefore, a guy like Musk can, given the right set of circumstances, just march in and have his way. They would never have conceived of something like this. But I do feel very much as though what Musk is doing is very much Pluto in Aquarius, you know, just sort of destroying things, putting an end to things, to government, and that government will be going a different way. Now, what that different way is, well, that remains to be seen. The cards on the house, we have the anchor, the whip, and then we have this older man. So, you know, if this is sort of think of it as White House, uh, you know, I think that this is 47. I think he is stuck between a rock and a hard place because he has sold himself to Musk and his other handlers. That's what I think. I think he did all kinds of deals, 47, to get elected to the presidency because he thought that that would be what kept him out of jail. So he is tied to them, weighed down by them. And um, everybody now is fighting for control of of him and his government. He's not in charge. He's just not in charge. Other people are. Okay, this is Musk, and the clarifiers for this are the fox, the hart, and the rider. He will try to make the case, watch the watch. He'll try to hypnotize people and say, this is for our own good. Look at the waste that we are eliminating in government. That will be the message. I'm doing it for love of country, for love of the people. He is a citizen. So, I'm doing this for you. That's his message. Uh, he well, the next line, the next card, remember, was the key. But I sort of, well, let's see. The clarifiers are the mountain, the child, and the clover. I do think that the answer is going to have to be that he has to be stopped fast by something new, some new, whether it's the legal system, I don't know what it is, because if I knew, they'd be paying me. Something new, some new approach. You cannot, what's that expression? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The Democrats are going to have to respond differently, and the people are going to have to respond differently in order to stop him. And it has to happen really fast, really fast. And then the last card in our original line was the moon. And the clarifiers are the ship, the bear, and the birds. So, America, her reputation is at stake. Everything is at stake. In order for her to move forward, we have to figure out how we're going to deal with the narcissist in chief and with this bullying behavior on the part of Musk. A lot of what Musk is doing, yeah, it's illegal. But if people agree to it, like if he says, okay, you all have to quit, and then people quit, well, they're obeying in advance. So he's just trying incrementally to see how much are people willing to obey in advance. And there have been meetings and conversations, and there will continue to be, amongst this sort of shell-shocked population and the Democrats as to what to do, Now, I pulled three final cards, and these act as like a postscript. Is there anything else? We have the scythe, and we have the snake, and we have the stars. If this is not cut off quickly, if Musk and whatever he's doing is not cut off quickly, the ramifications will last for decades, if not for generations. Is that Pluto and Aquarius? Yes, it is. But is this the kind of Pluto and Aquarius that we would like to have happen? No, it's not. So therefore, don't agree in advance. You know, I see Musk tomorrow being sidelined? I don't. I don't. I think people are paralyzed with shock, but this was a hole in our original framers' thinking. They could not have foreseen something like this. And so this is why, I like to argue that the Constitution should be viewed as a living, breathing document that needs to be, reassessed and updated and amended. I am not, I think I'd like to know, will the courts stop him? When I say courts, remember, some of these cases involving Musk and what he's doing could go as far as the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court, remember, is compromised. That's putting it nicely. It's compromised. Would the court and its originalists see the danger that Musk and his actions have posed and stop him? So let's look at that. We're going to look for the tower, and that'll stand for the Supreme Court. Yeah, this stands for the Supreme Court, and we're looking at it in relation to what Musk is doing. So we have the stars, we have the bear, we have the tower, we have the scales, and we have the cross. You know, the cross is a card for endings, but this doesn't look that optimistic to me. Um, I'm going to pull some clarifiers. This is for the court. Well, okay. On the tower, which is the court, we have the dog, clouds, and the fish. Yeah, there are people on the court whose loyalties are to themselves. That's what they're loyal to. And then we've got these clouds. So, you know, I think they're going to have to weigh their own loyalties and their own self-interest against the good of the nation. And, money has a lot to do with why some of the people on the Supreme Court have made some of the decisions that they've made. Looking at you, Alito and Thomas. Um, so I don't know if the Supreme Court is going to be the thing that saves the day. Now, scales, remember, this is the card that I added to the deck. We can think of it as balance, justice, fairness. Clarifiers are the sun, the bouquet, and the house. And the sun and the bouquet, those are great cards, but who's getting them? Uh, you know, the White House, will they choose uh in favor of the White House? My temptation is to say with these cards, yes, because they gave him all that kingly monarchical power, did they not? Now we have this cross here, and the clarifiers are Clover, the older man, and Crossroads. I think that it's really time for us to gird our loins, to do what we can to object to what's going on, to register our displeasure by calling and writing our representatives, um, to gather in small, local gatherings. Um, but I think that this may very well be the end of uh, democracy as we've known it. Now, mind you, that's not the worst thing in the world, because as we have known it, it has not been an ideal system. So we will have an opportunity in future to go another way, to redefine democracy in a way that is fairer and truer, to what it should be. If you remember in the beginning, the founders, they were all about, people white men who had land, right? I mean, women were not taken into account. People of color were not taken into account, except insofar as we were three-fifths of a person. So I think that we will have an opportunity to try again and get it right this time. So I don't think that this is the end of the world, but it may be the end of an old order again that is consistent with Pluto in Aquarius. And we don't get to say, okay, that's enough. We learned our lesson. Thank you so much. Can we both go back to regularly scheduled programming? That's not how this works. We had many chances to go a better way, and each time we've chosen not to. So this is going to be a really bitter pill, a really hard lesson, but out of the ashes of this, I think will come a new opportunity for Americans to do things in a more equitable, equal, democratic way than they've been done before. You know, maybe what's going on now is that the people in power are just the ones who do the raising, razing. If you don't know that word, that means bringing down, to just bringing down to level something. Like if you raise a building, you sort of you explode it so that it doesn't exist anymore. But from those ashes, we can build something better. And that is literally what Pluto in Aquarius allows us to do. Uh, I wanted to just quickly look at Gaza for a second. I saw that 47 commented today that he thinks that, why would anybody want to go back to Gaza? Why would the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza? Because it's what he called it was a demolition site, he said. And it would be so much better for them if we could find some, nice places for them to go. And when he was asked, he came up with Egypt, and I forget where the other place was. Well, these other countries have not said, yeah, bring them on. We want them. They don't want them. Not to mention, Gaza is their home. But it looks like Netanyahu and 47, who really are two peas in a pod, and I don't mean that as a compliment to either man, have plans for Gaza, for the area of Gaza, which is, as we know from Jared Kushner, to turn it into beachfront property, right? Owned by very wealthy people and, visited by wealthy people. And won't that be just lovely for everyone except the displaced? So I think I want to look at Gaza. I'm trying to think of what card I want to use for Gaza. The garden, because a garden is an area, right? So we'll use the garden for Gaza. What will be the future of Gaza? Remember, we're looking for the garden. Deep in the deck, what will be the future of Gaza? Okay, so we have the whip, the cross, the garden, the tower, and the mice. Um, what will become of Gaza? No good thing. There will be a lot of argument about it. There will be pain for the Gazans. Uh, here is Gaza itself, and governments, meaning ours and Israel, will um, raise it to the ground. Remember, mice erode. They're vermin, right? So it will be eroded. It will not be their homeland anymore. Um, they'll destroy it so that they can then build it up and make it prime beachfront real estate. Yeah, right. So I just drew some clarifiers on these mice, which destroy and eat away at and raise to the ground so that they can have their beachfront property that they love. And the White House will help with this. Because of course the White House is 47 anyway, will be invested, like monetarily invested in that process. So that's unfortunate. That's not good. That's sad. Um, Now again, I'm going to say on Gabbard and Kennedy, if they are allowed to go through, if the full Senate votes them in, the way that I'm going to look at it is that the energy presented senators with an opportunity to do the right thing. They won't have done the right thing if they get through. And that means that will be part of that Pluto in Aquarius energy, the raising of our healthcare system, the raising of our national security system. You know, apparently Putin or Russia, the Russia state media, calls Gabbard our girlfriend. Isn't that nice? So, you know what? Why not? Let's take one last look at them. Uh, we'll see. Let's see. I hope that people do the right thing, but we have seen people not do the right thing for a while, have we not? Since before November 5th. Um, so, all right, I will take a last look. Again, remember that this vote has not gone through. I don't know why everybody's trying to come in my comments and say they got through. Yes, they got through the committee, and now they have to go to the full Senate to be voted on by the full Senate. And that will, I'm pretty sure, don't quote me, but I bet it would be by the end of this week. So let's look at Gabbard first. We'll use the older woman card for her since she's got that white Cruella de Vil streak in her hair. Not that I don't, got white in my hair too, but that's who she'll be. So we're going to look at Gabbard first. Will Gabbard get through the full Senate vote? You know what? They're not very, they don't feel very shuffled because I'm seeing some of the cards too close to each other and the ones that I just read. So I'm just going to really do a quick shuffle. And okay, so we're looking for Tulsi Gabbard. She's going to be the older woman in the deck. And we want to know if she'll get confirmed by the full Senate, because that's the point. That's the question. I actually did not surprise me that both of them got out of committee. Question is, will they get past the full Senate? So that's her. Okay, so we're looking at Gabbard. We've got this young man, got mice. We've got Gabbard, the bouquet, and the letter. The bouquet and the letter tell me that she could get the votes. It could be very close. I mean, the votes have been very close for each of these people, by the way. Like they got by like one vote, two votes. So it's very, very close. But these cards here, if these are votes and this is the position, she could get through. It would be criminal, but then so much of this administration is criminal. I'm going to pull some clarifiers. Okay. So on Gabbard herself, the clarifiers are the ring, the star, and the cloud. So this particular line coming right in the middle speaks to what's going on right now, presently in this moment. Her commitment to our national security, her patriotism, etc., moving forward is still under question with these clouds here. There are still senators who have questions about her. We have this letter, and it's clarified by house, dog, and scythe. So these are votes. And I think that the White House will try to gather in. Notice that the scythe, while it does cut, there's a curve in the blade. So this is also the card of gathering up and gathering in. There's a ton of lobbying going on her behalf. And then we have the bouquet, the anchor, the fish, the stork. Uh, the bouquet, of course, is the job. With the anchor here, looks like she could get it. And then we have fish. Fish is money. I'm just saying. Whose palm is greasing, whose whatever. You know, if somebody says to a senator, a Republican senator, if you don't vote for her, I'll see that you're primaried. Well, this is sort of an emotional blackmail that has to do with both money and emotion that could certainly flip things her way. Cause that senator to say, oh, who cares about national security? Okay, I'll give Gabbard my vote. It could happen. We have a lot of people compromised in this government. Entertainment purposes only. Um, so energetically speaking, she could get through. She should not, but she could. Um, People will go to bed thinking one thing and then wake up in the morning and decide another. And that's the thing with reading on these kinds of things is that free will plays a part, and there's huge pressure placed on all of these senators. So she could get through. I think if she were to get through, it would be a squeaker. It could be again that JD Vance would have to break the tie. Um, but yeah. And now let's look at Kennedy one more time. I mean, I think that there are people who are considering holding their noses and voting for these people. And again, you may say, well, you said this before and now you're saying that. That's right, because energy is mutable. Okay, so we're looking for the older man. Here he is. So we have this young man, we have the scales, we have Kennedy, we have the rider, which is about news coming in. And not for nothing, as we used to say in Jersey, this is the card for health. Remember that that is the job that he is up for. And remember too that he's got lots of pretty wild and crazy ideas about health. We'll leave aside for the moment that he doesn't know the difference between Medicare and Medicaid. But this is that sort of impetuous um, kind of uh, out there. Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's around health. So this is also Kennedy. I'm going to pull some clarifiers. So you have the scales card. Yeah, see? Oh, All right. Mm. So I pulled clarifiers and not so much on that, but on the next card, which is scales. And we've got the book, the house, and the star. This is senators weighing what they want to do. A lot of senators still on the fence, not knowing. They will get pressure from the White House. The White House could easily say, if you don't vote for him, moving forward into the future, when your time comes, we will primary you. Here's Kennedy, and we have clouds, we have the anchor, and we have the dog. You know, um, okay, that's him. Again, clouds, again, there he's a lot of his ideas, a lot of the things that he said, a lot of the way that he presented himself was kind of like all over the place, scattered and unclear. Um, but he has friends in high places, and 47 really wants him in there. Should he get in, which he could, energy being mutable and senators being corruptible, the news will be for the public nothing good. Snake and mice. Mice is the card, among other things, for disease, plague, you know, illness, um, dirt, filth. It's not good. And the snake is a problem. This is the public. It will be no good thing should he get in. But again, maybe it's that Pluto and Aquarius thing. Maybe we have to have an experience where, oh, I don't know, bird flu hits us and we're not prepared and nobody wants to get a vaccine for it. I mean, meaning Kennedy will not push for a vaccine for it. And then we suffer the consequences. It's sort of like a different kind of razing to the ground. Instead of leveling, a department or a building, a population can be leveled. It doesn't look good if he gets in. And then we have this card for health, and we have the heart, crossroads, and woman. Hmm. Well, we already know that Collins has said that she would support him. So this is not she. Maybe it's Murkowski. I don't know. The Republicans can't, I think they can afford to lose three, and then they would need Vance. But I mean, there is a Vance, and Vance can break a tie. Uh, so this is health. I am hoping that Murkowski will buck her party out of love of country and love of public health. I think it will come down to a female, and she seems like the only likely one. All right, so again, this energy is just really mutable. It's a lot of up and down, up and down, up and down. For people who want to come for me, like you were wrong. I mean, I'm a card reader for one thing. Um, I don't know, did you bet money on what I said? Because that's your problem. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. Um, Meaning that all I can do is show you what I see. That's all I can do. And again, as I've said, readers, all of us, including me, are fallible, and energy is mutable. So in terms of Musk, I think things will get worse before they get better. I think Gabbard could get in, and I think that Kennedy um, could not get in, and it would be by a Republican or two bucking their party. So, and I see that Gaza will become this beachfront property, and what happens to the Palestinians there who want to go home. Um, they 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 are displaced people, um, now sort of part of the diaspora, like so many of us. So that's what I see. Everything I see will not be, you know, good news. Uh, but anyway, here I am doing my best. And thank you so much for all of you who have stayed with me. Thank you all for all you new subscribers who've come. A lot of you have come over from Marianne, and I really, really appreciate that. Um, and as a rule, for people who are unkind and disrespectful, I'll read the first couple of lines, and when I get the gist, I just hit the button. And so I don't know if you know how that works, but when I do that, you can still see what I do. You can still see my work. You can still comment on my work, but neither I nor my viewers can see what you say. So it's kind of like howling into the wind. So I love polite discourse amongst you. I think that's great. Occasionally, I will answer a comment. Not often. There's just so many. This is not all I do with my life. So, um, I will pop in occasionally. But anyway, thank you all so much, and I will see you very soon. If you're not following me on Substack, think about doing that. That's where I go there usually once a week, and tomorrow is my day, Wednesday, and I use tarot and Lenormand and Adinkra, which is an African oracle, to look at some issue, and it's in writing. Speaking of writing and words and letters and things, I had a viewer say, um, you were mispronouncing Lenormand, which is the system that I read. And they said, you're not meant to pronounce the final N and the final D. In other words, you're meant to pronounce it Le Normand. I know how to pronounce it, Le Normand. It's somebody's name. It's a woman's name. The history of it is that she was a famous seer. And we don't really know actually who invented this system. It was not she, however, but it started out to be a card game. And when people realized the predictive abilities of this game, they thought, oh, you know what? We should market this. And what do marketers do, right? They think strategically, and they thought, oh, well, we need to give it a name, and we need to give it a name that people will recognize. And Madame de Lenormand was a French woman who was, among other things, the seer, the psychic for Napoleon. And so they slapped her name on it. She never used these cards. She never read with this system. So what I said to that viewer is, okay, Lenormand, I understand, I know French, but I'm an American, and so I say Lenormand. So, sue me. It's okay. However you say it. I notice people sometimes will get hung up on it, and they're anxious, like, am I saying it right? And how do you say it? Just phonetically in American, we say Lenormand. That's how we say it. It's an Anglicization of is that what I mean? Anglicizing of the word, right? Lenormand in French, Lenormand in English, or Lenormand in English. Nobody's gonna die a fiery death if the word is mispronounced. So there you go. All right, everybody, I will see you really soon. Take care.